Sombron shifts into his fell dragon form and summons 12 dark emblems that represent previous Fire Emblem final bosses, but they all have generic sprites and models because making those is really expensive. Sombron is quite formidable, having 100 HP for each of his 4 health bars, in addition to significant damage reduction that can only be reduced by defeating the dark emblems all over the map. I destroy the dark emblems in the lower left and right, dropping Sombron's damage reduction from 100% to 70%. This can be further reduced by defeating more emblems, but if you deal with all 4, then he will simply summon 4 more next turn, making it easier to just attack him through his damage reduction. To help overcome the boss's tremendous defense, I apply poison with my dagger units. I then attack with Veil and engage with Soren, who can do a reasonable amount of damage to Sombron with criticals even through 70% damage reduction. I do chip damage with Alcris and a summoned Fabrication Bone Knight and deplete the first health bar with Fram. Reinforcements start spawning in from the sides, so I need to take care of them as well. I have Clan take out some Wyverns and have Celine take out Armor Knights. I continue attacking with Veil's 100% crit L-Surge combo and take down his second bar with 2 attacks. Louis one-shots flanking Wyverns with a Venomous, and then I chunk off Sombron's third health bar with Veil and finish it off with Alchrist. I then have Louis override the White Belts and Mage Knights and ponder my next move. At this point, I have more or less completed the map, but winning now would just be too easy. I have yet to take any casualties, which is frankly unacceptable, so it's time to start thinning the ranks. I intentionally do not heal Anna, so Sombron's Whirling Death AoE attack annihilates her, and in the process of putting the death counter on the screen, Ivy is impaled by an Armor Knight, and Goldmary is given death by a Sword Hero. One remaining challenge I must absolutely watch out for is the presence of healer reinforcements from the upper left and the top of the map. If Sombron is healed, then defeating him with Alear alone will be difficult if not impossible, so I send my entire army upwards to deal with this issue. In the process of doing this, Clan is cut down by the Corrupted, Fram is finished by a Mage Knight, and Linden is laid to rest. I spend the next turn clearing enemies, and Sombron disengages all my emblems, but more importantly, Alcris ascends to the Great Bench in the sky, and Veil is vanquished. It is now my turn, and I suicide Louis into a Mage Knight who quickly renders him living impaired. I then have Hortensia do a kamikaze attack against Sombron for 2 damage, and she fucking dies. I am now nearly at the finish line, both in terms of ending the game and also ending my army, but suddenly a bunch of Royal Knights with flame lances spawn close to Alear, putting him at risk of death. I desperately move Alear away from the Royal Knights, dancing him to move him farther away, and as I do this, Mavier is blasted by Sombron's Howling Beam and then is murdered by a Mage Knight, and immediately after, Saline ceases to be. Now everyone on my team is dead except for Seedal and Alear. All that remains is getting Seedal killed and getting the final blow on Sombron. But suddenly, disaster strikes. I have miscalculated and Alear is 2 damage off of killing Sombron. As it turns out, I had depended on Alear being engaged to do enough damage, but Sombron's Dark Spirit skill reduced his engage meter by 1 and made him unable to engage and secure the kill. This is now a conundrum. I could have Alear attack and then dance Alear to get the kill, but that would mean leaving Seedal alive, which would constitute absolute failure in my eyes. But I suddenly stumble on a solution. By engaging and transforming into Tiki, Seedal is able to do exactly 2 damage to Sombron before being killed on the counterattack. And so he attacks for exactly 2 damage and then is killed on the counterattack, dying for the cause and allowing us to achieve bingo by killing every single playable named character except for Alear. I initiate combat with Alear using the Georgios and S-rank Smash Sword, allowing Sombron to attack first. Alear takes 2 hits and then attacks, dealing 12 damage and stopping Sombron from killing anyone else ever again by killing him and also anyone else that he possibly could have killed. In the post-map cutscene, a defeated Sombron is sad that he will be unable to reunite with his lost emblem, and also that he cannot take revenge for his entire species that was genocided 5,000 years ago, and he dies. We return to the Somnial and find out that the emblems are now disappearing, and they all line up to say their farewells, but more importantly, they line up to advertise their respective Fire Emblem games, which for the most part are now unavailable for legitimate purchase in their complete forms. Byleth tells us to buy Fire Emblem 3 Houses, which is available now on the Nintendo Switch, and also the only one that is available officially in a convenient, permanent, and complete form. Corin tells us to buy Fire Emblem Fates, but you cannot pay $20 to play the Revolution route anymore because the Nintendo 3DS eShop has has completely shut down as of March 27th, 2023. Lucina tells us to buy Fire Emblem Awakening, for which the DLC is also completely unavailable for the same reasons. Micaiah tells us to buy Radiant Dawn, copies of which sell for upwards of $200 on eBay, and Ike tells us to buy Path of Radiance, which can sell for $300 or more. Erica tells us to buy Sacred Stones, and Len tells us to buy Blazing Blade, the upcoming official access of which can only be obtained through the Nintendo Online subscription plus expansion pack, which is a temporary subscription service for $50 per year, meaning that you will not own the games and you will lose access to them when the service expires. Roy tells us to buy Binding Blade, which still has no official English translation and requires you to have a Japanese Nintendo account to play it on the aforementioned Nintendo Online subscription plus expansion pack. Leaf tells us to buy Fire Emblem 37776, for which we will need to time travel back to 1999 to visit a Lawson Japanese convenience store chain to download it onto a Nintendo Power Flash cartridge. Sigurd tells us to buy Fire Emblem Genealogy of the Holy War, which will hopefully be an upcoming remake that you can actually purchase like a normal human being. Celica tells us to buy Fire Emblem Echoes Shadows of Valentia for the 3DS, for which a DLC is now also unavailable because of the eShop shutdown. And finally, Marth shows up, telling us to buy Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light, which used to be available on the Nintendo Switch Online store but was then taken off in March 2021 to induce FOMO and cause artificial scarcity, and the others are untranslated or only available from third parties. After hearing all 12 sales pitches for games that have all become surprisingly difficult or impossible to actually purchase, Alear comes to the horrifying realization that she, as an emblem and the protagonist of a Fire Emblem game, is also doomed to the same fate. The end.